All right, Thursday, almost there. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. I'm going to get to my interview with Vice President JD Vance in just a minute, but begin tonight with a thwarted ISIS plot right here in New York. The FBI has arrested a 35-year-old woman accused of plotting an attack on the New York State Capitol. Prosecutors saying she pledged allegiance to ISIS and allegedly researched weapons and ways to carry out the attack. We've warned you before, these threats are closer than you think. Plus, the Democrats' Act Blue scandal just went from bad to pretty much worse. Act Blue's co-founder pleading the fifth today during a closed-door deposition before 3 House committees. Couldn't imagine why he would do that. Apparently, pleading the fifth is the left's summer trend this year. And the Lone Star State is drawing a line in the classroom. Texas Governor Greg Abbott wants to ban H-1B visa holders from teaching Texas public school lessons, arguing that American classrooms should prioritize American workers. I mean, what a novel concept. But first, a few hours ago, I had the distinct honor and pleasure to sit down with our great Vice President, JD Vance. I like him so much that I even took off my arm brace and put on a jacket for the interview. I hope you enjoy it as much as it hurt me. Let's do this. Vice President JD Vance, sir, honor to have you back on again. Good to catch up with you. And we were just talking, you're going back to your hometown. And before I get to the Save America Act and the Senate and the national debt, you're hitting on this trip. You're going to a 100-year stalwart of the community, a steel mill down there. You have any big announcements coming up, like, I don't know, running for president or something?
No, man, we're trying to win the midterms in 2026 and keep so much of the great momentum that we've got going. But I'm very excited because apparently we're either going to do the speech in Middletown or maybe we're just going to visit the facility where my grandfather worked as a welder for close to 40 years at what's now the Cleveland Cliffs Middletown facility, but used to be Armco Steel. And again, it's such a perfect place to talk about what I think is the fundamental message of Donald Trump's economic nationalism, which is rebuilding American industry, rebuilding America's middle class in the process, and making America more self-reliant. Like, we have to stop relying on other people to make our stuff. We have to use American workers, American industry, and American ingenuity to build the products of the future. That steel mill, frankly, wouldn't exist were it not for Donald Trump's steel tariffs from the first administration and the second administration. So it's really a perfect place to drive home this message that American self-reliance really starts with better economic policy in Washington, and that's what we've been trying to do.
No, I mean, look, as a welder by trade myself on a barge before I went in the Navy, nothing makes me appreciate American ingenuity in building better than a steel mill. But I want to get to the Save America Act, all right? You famously called a while back the 60-vote threshold in the Senate weird Senate procedural BS, which I happen to agree with, but yet John Thune, he's not getting it done over there, respectfully, sir. And you're president of the Senate. You obviously, there is some procedural things under Article 1, but you know, overruling the parliamentarian, pushing this vote forward, is there anything you can do to get this done before the midterms?
Yeah, so we've actually looked into this, and you're right. As the president of the Senate under the U.S. Constitution, there are things that we can do. We can take over the Senate chair. I can occupy the chair. We can overrule the parliamentarian. Those things are very possible. But the fundamental issue with that is not the 60-vote threshold, it's the 50-vote threshold. So if, for example, I took over the Senate chair and I overruled the parliamentarian, we would need to sustain 50 senators plus me. Obviously, I would vote the right way. Mm-hmm. We need to sustain 50 senators to support that decision. Now, obviously, most Republicans would support it, but could we get 50? That's the big question. That's something that obviously the president and I and others in the White House have been working on, trying to have this conversation. You know, the fundamental problem, there's a good news, bad news situation here, which is we have a way better United States Senate today, a way better Senate GOP today than we had 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But you still have some senators who are so committed to these ridiculous parliamentary rules, even though they know the Democrats aren't. And this is what I find so preposterous about this is it's basically you have a few GOP senators who are unilaterally disarming, even though they know that Senate Democrats, whenever the Senate Democrats next take the majority, hopefully 30, 40, 50 years from now, hopefully never, but if they do it 2 years from now or 4 years from now, the Senate Democrats are going to blow up the filibuster. And this is why the president says we have got to just get rid of the filibuster. Then you don't have to worry about the parliamentarian. The problem is not the majority of GOP senators. It's that you've got a few holdouts who just don't want to do that because they're so committed to these archaic rules.
Sir, but I mean, like, I'm assuming you have talked to some of these people who are holding out on this, blowing the filibuster. What do they say to you? They're like, well, you know, this procedure is more important than, I don't know, the integrity of our U.S. elections?
Basically, that's what they say. I mean, look, to play devil's advocate or to try to understand their position as well as I can, what they say, and I think they genuinely believe this, I don't know how, but I think they genuinely believe that if they protect the filibuster for the next couple of years, then let's say the Democrats take over in 4 years, the Democrats are going to return the favor and protect the filibuster when they're in power. I don't know how anybody believes that. We have to remember that if you go back to Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, by the way, two very good public servants, moderate Democrats. I disagreed with them on a lot of issues, but they did protect the filibuster. And what happened to them? Were they promoted by the Democratic Party? No, they were destroyed by Chuck Schumer and the Senate Democrats. They sent a message that if you ever dare to stand against the national Senate Democrat leadership, we are going to destroy your career. And that means the filibuster has to go away. I guarantee you, even if there are some good Democrats in the Senate who would preserve the filibuster, you know, to sort of show good faith to their Republican colleagues, they're never going to be allowed to do it by the Senate leadership. The politics of it are obvious. Senate Democrats are going to destroy the filibuster. And by the way, they're not going to do it to protect American election integrity. They're going to do it to add Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. as states. They're going to do it to further weaken election integrity. And this is what I think that, again, it's not the majority of the Senate GOP, but a few senators have got to wake up to the reality that the Democrats are going to blow up the filibuster and try to destroy the country, pack the Supreme Court. We need to end the filibuster to save American elections. It's the smart and also the patriotic thing to do.
Yeah, we just saw 25,000 or 24,000 illegals voted in the 2020 election. It's just bananas to me, sir. National debt.
That's right. Which, by the way, we were told by the media and by national Democrats never happened.
Right.
And now we know that everything that they tell us is a crazy conspiracy theory is just about 6 months away from being proven to be true. Obviously, illegal aliens voted in American elections. We can debate whether it's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, but we know that at least some do, and a single illegal alien voting in an American election is one too many. Yeah,
100%, because it negates maybe my vote, and I'm not okay with that. National debt, sir, just cleared $40 trillion. I knocked Congress last night on this show about it. You know, Bank of America is issuing a warning to bondholders, and I'm looking at this as like, look, yourself, you're a VC guy, President Trump, lifelong business guy. Is there anything on the horizon to look at this? Potentially, President Trump was talking about a crypto reserve with Bitcoin and XRP and a few other things. Is there anything on the horizon to start offsetting this?
So there are a couple of things the president has talked about to try to address this problem. First of all, he's talked about a sovereign wealth fund because, as you know, actually the stock market, the equity market has performed a lot better than the bond market. There's a weird way where American taxpayers are getting fleeced because of the very high debt charges. By the way, very high debt charges that started under the Biden administration. This is a crisis that we inherited, and I think has gotten better. I'm not saying that everything is fixed, but it has certainly gotten better. The other thing is that Scott Bessent, the amazing Treasury Secretary, he has had a very discreet plan, of course, supported by the President of the United States, to get the United States to a point where our economy is growing faster than our debt. And if you look, we are on track. So even though the debt is too high, even though we inherited this debt bomb from the Biden administration, we actually do have a plan to get the economy growing faster than the debt. And that's the most important thing. The issue that we've had under the Biden administration and what we're still kind of dealing with is that the debt was growing faster than American GDP. That's the problem. That's something that we're certainly fixing every single day in the Trump administration. But you know, even though the media doesn't cover this, I'm glad you're asking this question, because Scott Bessent is very much on top of it. He knows it's a problem, and he's got the president's empowerment to do something about it.
Well, I mean, we've seen just, I think it's almost 19 trillion of foreign investments over the next 10 years come in under this president. The other thing is, in that same vein, the Clarity Act, okay? Not a lot of people have been covering this, but, you know, the Crypto Clarity Act would give a lot of, dare I say, clarity to the crypto investment scheme. And you're talking about tens of trillions of dollars of potential investment that could literally make millionaires overnight. Do we have any notion of when that's going to clear the Senate where it is sitting right now?
So I was actually hopeful it would clear the Senate before the August recess. You know, we certainly think we're going to get a vote on it. There are a couple of senators on the GOP side who are holding out, and also a couple of Democrats who are stalling this thing. So we've got to do some work with our Senate colleagues, both Democrats and Republicans, to get it done. Man, you're absolutely right. This is a very important piece of legislation. The reason why America has led in crypto and blockchain innovation is, of course, because we've had a president who has supported American innovators. But what those innovators are telling us now is that the industry is mature enough that we need some clear rules. It's a bit of a wild, wild west out there. And actually what that allowed in that wild west was for the Biden administration to go after our innovators, because there weren't clear rules, which just empowered the weaponized DOJ to go after some of our entrepreneurs and our innovators. We need some clear rules. These guys want to follow the rules, but they need clear guidance. The crypto industry is behind this. The small tech companies are behind it. It's a very, very important piece of legislation. We're working on it every day, and we're just going to have to see how the vote ultimately shakes out, but I feel good about it.
Well, sir, on that, too, is like we know that Iran, and I want to get to this real quick, was financing a lot of their economy by mining Bitcoin because they had cheap energy over there. You guys have come in, you have literally crushed their military, you have restrained a lot of their economy. I think 5x, 5x inflation over there right now for a lot of their basic need items. You have said that the #1 goal of the Iran war right now is to keep oil and gas cheap for Americans, which I love. President Trump is obviously on track to not let them have a nuclear weapon. What do you see? Is there, I don't want to say an exit strategy, but is there a definitive timeline of motion, and you don't have to disclose too much, of what we can do to start bringing the normality back to at least shipping in the area other than declaring it a U.S. territory?
Yeah, so first of all, look, our goal here, the reason why we're involved in this region of the world at all is because we want to ensure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. That is the #1 and primary purpose of why we are in this operation to begin with. But we also have a lot of tools. And I think the point that I've made is that sometimes the tools that we're using are military in nature, obviously. Sometimes the tools that we're using are diplomatic in nature. And sometimes the tools that we're using are economic in nature. And one of the most powerful tools that we have is exactly to your point, to ensure that the Iranians pay a price for trying to choke off international oil and gas trade. And we've made a ton of progress on this. Of course, a lot of people aren't covering this, but even as the Iranians are trying to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, we're getting out some days 15 million barrels, some days 7 million barrels. We are actually preventing an energy crisis that the Iranians are trying to create. That obviously is good for our people. Oil prices are much lower than they were at the height of Operation Epic Fury. And we're going to, do everything that we can, obviously, to give more relief to American consumers. But at the same time, it also shows that the Iranians don't have this ability to choke off international trade, which reduces their leverage. So the point here is we've got a lot of tools in the toolkit. Sometimes you've got to use the economic tools. That's what the president is focused on right now. Sometimes you've got to use the military tools. But the fundamental purpose here is that obviously we want to ensure Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon, and we want to make sure that Americans are safe and prosperous.
Sir, realistically, and just real quick before I let you go, how long do you think Iran can survive with these economic pressures on them?
It's always tough to predict that, and that's honestly not really our focus. They're under a ton of pressure. That pressure is conducive to our goal of ensuring they don't have a nuclear weapon. Whether they can survive a couple of weeks or a couple of months or possibly longer, so long as they don't have a nuclear weapon, that's what we're focused on. That's what the president, frankly, has already accomplished. We're just trying to ensure they don't try to rebuild that program, and that's going to require some consistent engagement. But again, if you look at just where this is today versus a few months ago, oil has come down substantially. Gas prices are down about 50 cents from their peak. We have shown an ability to do something amazing for our national security while also doing something that protects the economic interests of the American people.
Well, Mr. Vice President, I appreciate your time very much, sir.
Thanks, man. Take care.
You too. All right, coming up, I take you down a trip memory lane when CNN chased down a doctor and they said that he was the one pushing COVID disinformation 5 years ago, when it turns out he was actually right about all of that. My thoughts on that in just a second, how much I hate CNN. But first, Eric Swalwell was rated this week. I'm sure he'll give two, dare I say, rusty thumbs down. More troubles for the disgraced California congressman next.
The 47th President of the United States of America.
And, you know, I wouldn't say Fox has been exactly perfect. Fox has been a big difference of Fox between now and what it was 4 years ago, as you know. But we have others that come along and they're doing well, and Newsmax has been really good, and, you know, others are coming along, and people are seeing that they're watching these conservative networks.
President Trump is right. That's why millions of Americans are tuning into Newsmax for the real news they can trust.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
This is our time, you know? His favorite route is the long way around. Now we can take it again. I'm not sure who loves this freedom more, him or me.
Being out here alone is my happy place. Nature can have its threats, but I'm prepared.
I'm not trying to fight wildlife. I just don't want one bad encounter deciding everything.
Carry confidence wherever you go with Byrna. And now it's the biggest sale ever at Byrna.com.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVES.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
Oh boy, the guy who farts on TV, Eric Swalwell, may be in a bit more trouble than initially thought. The disgraced former congressman who was having a sexual relationship with a Chinese spy, Fang Fang, or Rusty Thumbs, as she was codenamed by the FBI, had his devices seized at the San Francisco airport this past weekend, and federal agents searched his D.C. home as part of an investigation into alleged sexual misconduct. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Despite the seizing of his devices, Swalwell himself was neither arrested nor detained. So, today's news coming just after we learned that the FBI was also aware of the congressman having sex with a Chinese spy who was also, you know, placing interns in his office. She also worked for Ro Khanna's office, by the way. Yeah, I'd say not all is well with Swalwell. Senior Communications Advisor for Truth Social, Katie Zacharia. This is your boy, right?
Our boy. They got rid of him pretty quickly, almost like Graham Plattner. They destroyed Swalwell, or he destroyed himself. But what's peculiar about this is now that we have an FBI that works on behalf of Americans under Kash Patel, we're actually getting answers with Swalwell. So yes, the sexual allegations, the sexual assault allegations, and then it's not mysterious to me that this is coming off the heels of the disclosing of the Fong Fong and the inappropriate relationship with the Chinese spy over a course of 3 years and her Rusty Thumbs name.
So bizarre to me. I can't believe you still live in the state of California with these people. All right, speaking of that, California's Senate passed the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Okay, this fines, under this law, if it gets signed by Gavin Newsom, it gets independent journalists fined for exposing or even trying to expose fraud, which I believe is a clear violation of the First Amendment. You would think, though, that a government that's accountable to the people and wants, accountability would be like, yeah, actually, hey, journalists, thanks for looking into this and finding it for us.
Yeah, and the one component of this that, other than the fact that it's a First Amendment clear violation and there's a lot of ground that he has to sue once it becomes law, if Gavin signs it, is the fact that it's Mia Bonta. So Mia Bonta is a congresswoman out of California, but she's also the wife of Rob Bonta, our attorney general. And this, to me, with Rob Bonta saying, we are really interested in uncovering fraud, except we're going to pass this Stop Nick Shirley Act, and we're not actually really interested in uncovering fraud. But his wife has driven this legislation. There should be some kind of scheme or counter scheme against the fact that they're in collusion preventing this, Carl.
Well, speaking of scheme, there's this weird, creepy dude at the state capitol in Sacramento. Nick Shirley was confronted by this guy who seemed pretty interested in seeing Nick Shirley's twig and berries. Roll this.
Nick Shirley has a small penis, allegedly.
Wow, that's so adult of you.
Did you hear about this? Nick Shirley allegedly has a small penis. Well, I don't know.
Well, the reports are wrong.
They're reporting. Well, we don't know. Prove me wrong.
No, I'm not. I don't do that.
Prove me wrong.
You don't want to do that.
Well, if you consent.
I mean, we are in California. They do support pedophiles.
I think you're over 18.
Why does he want to see Nick Shirley's stuff?
That was just so disturbing. And Nick Shirley was the adult in the room here. This man is so inappropriate.
It's a government official.
Government official, but this is California, right? Like, we've taken Trump derangement syndrome to the next level. Now it's anyone who does anything exposing them derangement syndrome. So Nick Shirley is amazing. We're so grateful for him in California. And I think he should sue when Gavin Newsom passes this law.
Oh, 100%.
Signs it.
Speaking of another California story, Gavin Newsom was in Detroit, and he was given literally the greatest softball question, completely blew it. Watch this.
Would you be a good president?
We'll see. I don't know.
But what do you think you would?
That's a difficult question to answer. I mean, so I have no idea. I would like to think I would be, but that's for others to determine. By the way, I think I was a pretty good mayor. I think I was pretty good, but people have different opinions.
He pretty much ran that state into the ground. It's the most expensive state in the world. And what didn't run into the ground burned to the ground because they didn't put water in their aquifers.
I've been saying this since the beginning. Gavin Newsom is going to run on his hair, and he's going to run on his alleged charisma. But at some point, Carl, he's going to have to fall back on policy. And the fact that he can't answer, would you be a good president? He knows he's a failed governor. He knows he was a failed mayor. I was reflecting on the fact that I would never take my kids to San Francisco post Gavin Newsom mayoral tenure.
Not even to get a free crack pipe from the vending machines?
Not even for that. Not even to see people using the restroom on the ground in front of them. So this guy cannot be president, but he doesn't have any policy to support his presidency. So here we have the failed state of California. Welcome. But New York's not doing much better under Mom Donnie here.
But both are a model of what will happen if Democrats get elected.
Correct.
Katie, Zacharia, appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
All right. Came all the way from California just to trash on Gavin Newsom. Love it. Coming up, they are coming for your kids again. This time it's your teen's medical record. And they say it's about privacy, but since when did parents need permission to know what's happening with their own children? Next.
Newsmax
shoots it straight. No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think. Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax. They don't tell me how to think. They let me decide.
Real news for real people.
Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consult are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528. Attention, do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consults are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed. And you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
My gutters were clogged, and I know that can be a big problem, so I called Leaf Filter.
Leaf Filter Pros will clean out, reinforce, and protect your gutters. Our surgical-grade stainless steel micro mesh keeps the debris out and water moving. Call or click today.
You ever heard of a thing called MyChart? I don't know if other states use this, but we use it in Connecticut, where the doctors, they upload results and tests, and you can see them and get your medical records and all this stuff. I've never been able to log into it, but I get their emails saying it's there in case I ever figured it out. Well, a friend of mine, who our kids are friends, got an email from MyChart. And I'm just going to read you what the email said. Hello, your proxy access to, and then it had patient's name, MyChart will transition to teen limited access in 15 days on their 13th birthday. I'm like, hold up. 13 years old, you're going to limit my access to my kid's medical information? Are you high? This got even worse, saying, how will this change affect you? Access will automatically be limited to protect your teen's privacy as required by... What law? Are you kidding me? This is the wrong planet. Host of Amy Robbins Show, Amy Robbins, and chair of New Jersey Moms for Liberty, Alexandra Bougher. All right, so if my kid came home, or forget my kid coming home, if I got this email personally, I was mad, and it's not even my kid. I'm sure my kid got one too.
I'm sure that they did.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, this is what's happening. They first lowered it to 16, and then the governor of your state last year in June lowered it to 13. So it's insane. And here's the crazier part.
MyChart can pound sand.
It can. I mean, listen, you have a
that.
God-given right as the parent to decide what happens with your child. Let's just put that right out there.
Yeah.
But here's what's so crazy about it. It allows mental health services, all kinds of sex
STD testing.
STD, HIV. It can give them birth control, mental health. So it can tell your daughter that it's okay.
We can give them medication?
Yes, and that it could be a boy if they want to be instead of a girl, 13 years old.
Access.
And you don't have access. But you have to pay the bills.
But I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end, Carl, of an email coming from you to my
It's not going to be an email. It's going to be
it's going to show up.
It's going to be a trebuchet and like a clay thing that's on fire.
Yeah, no, it's really scary. And you look at this and you think this should be a very easy, cut and dry violation of parental rights, because the Supreme Court has already upheld multiple times that parents have the right to their upbringing, their education, their care. And yet states still have the ability, which a lot of parents don't know, to be able to go in and say, well, we're going to claim state and federal privacy laws for our children. And these are 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
They can't drink. They can't go to war. They can't make their own medical decisions. I mean, what are we
can't tie
talking
their
about here?
shoes.
They can't even tie their shoes.
No, they definitely can't. They don't make the best decisions. That's why they have parents.
I'm going to spend more time digging into my chart. Jeff, write that down. We'll go over that after the show. All right, let's talk about Lindsay Clancy. If you guys know who this woman is, she's the woman in the wheelchair who's on trial right now for killing her 3 children. Now, her defense argues that she was suffering from severe postpartum psychosis and's not criminally responsible. Look, I've never had a baby. You guys have. I have 3 kids, and a postpartum is a real thing. But so is PTSD. You can't kill people.
Yeah, I mean, this has definitely forced the national conversation about where does a mother's mental health end, and then where does justice for murdering the children begin. And I think that is what is so sad right now, that we have this sort of moral inversion going on with women showing up to her trial wearing pink shirts, cheering her on, and they're turning the killer into the primary victim.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's like they were like, Carl, be careful with this postpartum. I'm like, I'm not criticizing postpartum. That's a thing. But you can't kill people. And they were like, just let's have some mothers on to talk about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've all been through, we've been through it, right?
Yeah.
We've been exhausted. You know, the 3rd feeding, it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
You're birthing people.
You're birthing, we're birthing people. And we look at our baby with love.
Right.
Oh, we're not thinking of hurting them. We're like, we're going through this because we love this person so much. So they're going around saying, we're all Lindsay Clancy. No, we're not. No. Okay? None of us are. You made that decision to do that. I mean, this is an ongoing trial. I'm sure more is going to come out. Yeah. But yes, let's get her help. She did ask for a lot of help. She did put herself in treatment and all those other things. But
some of that treatment that she was in, what led up to this also, that she's prescribed like 30 medications, 12 of which were prescribed by some woman who looks like she's 13 years old, probably on my chart, gave her 12 medications and never met her. It was like telehealth.
Yeah, I think that's the problem too, is like we should have this discussion about what went wrong with the medical community. But I think even bigger than that, we really have to look at what is happening in our society right now. When you have had people cheering and making this murderer the primary victim, just like in Luigi Mangione's case, just like with the women that were celebrating the 3rd-term abortions happening the other day. I mean, we have a serious issue going on in our country, and all of it needs to be addressed, and this is forcing the conversation.
100%. All right, I want to get to this conservative legal group called Alliance Defending Freedom, okay? Also known as the ADF, demanding a Colorado school district ditch an inappropriate, sexually explicit curriculum, raising a broader fight over how much is too much when it comes to sex education. I think it's safe to say, like, don't do any of this stuff.
None of it, okay? This is a parent's job to talk to their kids at home about these things. You can decide what's the birds and the bees. You can decide what's, you know, what your beliefs are, what your morals are, and that's how much you're going to teach at home to your children. Here's the problem, what they were doing. They did have an opt-out. However, they were giving them like 2 weeks notice, and if you have kids in school, you know how many emails you get from the school, okay? And all it says is like, oh, health class or something. It's not saying what it really is. These are graphic things. It's
like,
pornographic.
where do you like to be touched is one of the questions.
Yes. How do you like to be touched?
No.
5 years old.
That's not okay. I
That's
homeschool my daughter. She's in kindergarten, and the only things we are working on right now are reading, writing, and math. And when it comes to talking...
You white supremacists.
I know. Carl. You know, look, if we're going to talk about things about her body, it is going to come from me. It is going to come from our family. I do not want these people, and it's so disturbing to think, why are these people so hell-bent on teaching our kids about this?
Yeah.
We do know why. It's the indoctrination. It's, it goes...
Well, we can record it all on my chart. Amy, how
But you have no access to it.
That I don't have access to anymore. Okay, great. We appreciate you guys coming in.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, the UK government is handing migrants that really can't actually read a pamphlet explaining that rape is actually a crime and sex with children is bad. Why does Britain bother with these people? Culture Clash next.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drupinski. I've been looking at the aging process for a long time. Fatty 15 actually slows it down. Fatty 15 comes out of Navy dolphin research. Without the C15, our cells become fragile and age and oxidize. This pushes that back. That's why I take Fatty 15.
Falls are the #1 cause of injury to senior citizens. Falling down stairs can be disastrous. Acorn Stair Lifts has the solution. Just don't fall. Sit, relax, ride with an Acorn Stair Lift, the world's leader in stair lifts. That's right, don't let limited mobility keep you from going up and down your stairs, even outside. Call Acorn Stair Lifts now for a free information kit and no obligation quote. Now you can safely ride with your Acorn Stair Lift.
Now I don't have to worry about him climbing those stairs anymore.
And our Acorn Stair Lift was very affordable.
Our Acorn Stair Lift is definitely more affordable than moving.
The Acorn Stair Lift has a padded seat and backrest for maximum comfort. It easily folds up for access to the stairway. 5 safety sensors stop your Acorn Stair Lift if there is something in the way. And it even runs during power outages.
I am king of my castle again.
You'll be working directly with the world's leader in stair lifts. That's right, there's no middleman. Acorn's trained technicians professionally install your stair lift directly to the staircase. In most cases, in 2 hours or less. There's no need for special construction. We don't leave until you're completely comfortable using your Acorn Stair Lift.
Don't risk a serious fall going down the stairs.
I was really surprised at how little it cost.
Call for your free no-obligation information kit and quote from Acorn Stair Lifts. Just don't fall. Safely ride up and down your steps.
Give your life a lift with Acorn Stair Lifts.
Call 1-800-908-4077 right now for your free information kit or visit our website today. That number again is 1-800-908-4077. Call now.
This is our time, you know? His favorite route is the long way around. Now we can take it again. I'm not sure who loves this freedom more, him or me.
Being out here alone is my happy place. Nature can have its threats, but I'm prepared.
I'm not trying to fight wildlife. I just don't want one bad encounter deciding everything.
Carry confidence wherever you go with Byrna. And now it's the biggest sale ever at Byrna.com.
See you Sunday, Jim. Whoa! Delivery!
Thanks, Kurt.
You like that? See you Sunday, Jim.
Sunday.
See you Sunday. See you Sunday.
See you Sunday.
I just got my pilot's license. See you Sunday!
The whole town can feel it. Sunday's coming.
The NFL on CBS, streaming all season on Paramount+.
See you Sunday!
That's my boy Cam Scatteroo.
Whoa!
You know things have gone absolutely bat-you-know-what in Britain when the government has to hand out a 9-page guide to asylum seekers that we know probably and won't even read it, but they probably can't read, explaining to not rape people, that having sex with children is illegal. The UK government is simply educating new arrivals about British laws and expectations. Are you sure you want these people coming into your country if that's the education you got to give them? But the obvious question is, why do you need to explain this to people in the first place? Like, this should be common practice. And if someone comes to your country and doesn't understand that these things are already wrong, illegal, bad, should the government really be handing them a pamphlet, or should they be just getting them out on the first boat possible? Comedian and host of Shawn Farash Live on Bongino Report, new location for your show, buddy. Congrats on that, Shawn Farash. And Newsmax contributor Kay Smythe. Kay, this is your stomping ground.
That is not my stomping ground. That is the trash heap that I worked very, very, very hard to leave because of stuff like this, Carl. It is... Okay, to your point, absolutely. Firstly, if they can read this pamphlet, they're not going to read this pamphlet. And how would I feel? Like, when I try to explain this to people over here, I say, how would you feel if Joe Biden opened the doors to potentially hundreds of thousands, millions of men and women who are also complicit in this, who don't understand the sexual assault of anyone, including children, isn't allowed? And we just let them in. Oh, by the way, taxpayers, you're going to pay for all of their health care. You're going to pay for their housing. You're going to pay for their food because these people aren't coming here to work. You'd say, sounds like a bit of an invasion. Sounds like we're being invaded. Does it not? But no, in the UK, if I said everything I just said, I'd be arrested for being a racist.
Yeah, Shawn, this actually...
That's why it ain't my stomping ground.
Shawn, this is actually just coming in breaking news over my ear right now. They're going to drop pamphlets in Detroit letting people know that murder is now more illegaler.
More illegaler. It's the illegalist thing you can do. It's so illegal. You shouldn't do that. It's like we have to really reinforce the rules of like common sense and stuff. But this is what happens in Europe. And this is what happens when you allow this third world invasion, and then you decide that assimilation doesn't matter, and then you find out that there are people that aren't assimilating, and so you're like, hey, maybe we should drop leaflets and help them assimilate. It's completely and totally ridiculous. Why don't you just not let them in the first place? I feel like that might solve the problem. Maybe if you just don't let it happen in the first place.
If I had any computer skills, I would hack the State Department website and put up a, don't go to UK, you'll get raped. That's what I would do. All right, Kay, the lead official for Ma'am Danny's New York City grocery stores says that officials are considering granting money to local grocers because they're fearing the competition from the city-run. Just watch this.
I think we're, as an agency, looking at a number of different complementary, policies and programs, grants, incentives that can come alongside these grocery stores to support other, local independent businesses that are in the neighborhoods.
So they're going to use taxpayer dollars to give free or reduced price things to people, and then they're going to use more taxpayer dollars to give more money to the grocery stores that are being undercut by our tax dollars already.
Yeah, I think it was you who said it, Carl, or words to this effect, that every time the government gets involved with something, it goes wrong. And that's exactly what's happening. Firstly, these grocery stores, if they open, they're going to last for all of about a lunchtime, because everything that Ma'am Danny touches just falls apart, just literally does not work. I think buses are 10 times more expensive, something stupid like that now. So, free buses for everyone. Oh, government-run grocery stores. Yeah, if it does work, the bread lines are going to be round the block. So, God bless him. He has a lot of stupid, very communist ideas that he's trying to push on the people in New York. I pray that none of them work, because if they do, what does that say about us as a country, guys? What does that say about us? Not surprised that this doesn't work. What a joke.
Yeah, Shawn, here's another weird one. A woke coffee shop in Portland who, embraces all this weird stuff. This is in Oregon, obviously. Some person thing, it goes in, smashes, it's a man in a dress. Just watch. Shawn, I'm not a smart man, but they do make implants that stop this kind of stuff. They come in 45, 9 mil, 223, 308.
Okay, did you hear after the door got kicked in, there's some Karen in there who was like, absolutely not. Yeah, that really helped.
It's a pamphlet.
Hey, I have an idea. Call a social worker. Maybe they'll put the door back together for you. And hey, that guy in the dress, that might be the next MVP of the WNBA. I don't know. This is insane that we allow this stuff to go on. By the way, the only time I support men in dresses is if they are going to do, it's a couple of guys did, go to a WNBA game and demand that they should play on the court. That's the only time I'll support this. The rest of this is all lunacy. This is all crazy. And there are people who go, no, you have to say that's okay. No, I'm never going to say that's okay. You want to know why? Because it's not okay at all. To quote the Karen, absolutely not.
No, it is to me like one of the most insane things to watch this whole thing. I love the fact that these guys are going into the WNBA now and they're debating the meaning of the word W in their own name. Shawn, you've moved over to Bongino's platform. How do people find you and where do they get it?
That is rumble.com/SHAWN, rumble.com/Shawn, Shawn Farash Live, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Bongino Report, and launching on Monday, Bongino Report PM on the radio. So you can check that out as well. I'll be hosting the first hour from 3 to 4 Eastern Time. That starts next Monday. Super excited about the move. It's been awesome thus far.
Couldn't happen to a better guy. We appreciate both of you.
Thank you.
You're awesome too. All right.
Thank you.
Coming
Congrats,
up.
Shawn. That's amazing.
Yeah, man. All right. I hope you didn't forget about COVID's biggest media lies and cover-up. CNN's propaganda was awful, breaking down why these people need to be held accountable and just how much I hate them. Next.
Where's the admission desk at your hospital? You may need it sooner than you think. It's the middle of the night and you, your spouse, or your child is sick, high fever, can't keep anything down, and getting worse. Now you're waiting in the ER. And everyone gets seen before you. And when I finally see you and order prescriptions, you still have to wait for your pharmacy to open and hope they have what I prescribed. This is the medical emergency kit. It's stocked with essential medications, including amoxicillin, generic Z-Pak, and ivermectin. Now you have the right medications when you need them. And it's why I and so many of my colleagues have medical emergency kits. It's like having an urgent care and pharmacy in your home. Just fill out a brief online medical intake and your kit, prescribed by a licensed provider, is shipped to your door. Here's how to order.
Order your kit now and save $45. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news. That's urgentcarekit.com/news.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, at 92 years of age with my wife Shirley, who is 83. Now, both of us are still cutting a wide swath in life, all because of Immuno 150. Now, we are asking you to use Immuno 150 like we do. Give it a chance for at least 90 days so that you can see what 70 plant minerals and 80 additional nutrients can do for you.
It really is incredible.
Don't place your order until after you've watched the 3 videos on our website.
We wanted transparency, but we couldn't find it. So we started Good Ranchers to reconnect the American family to the American farm. All of our meat is 100% born, raised, and harvested right here on American soil. But good sourcing is just the beginning. We go the extra mile to take stuff off your plate. Pre-trimmed cuts, easy thaw bags, fully cooked options.
Ooh, yeah, this is good.
And it's good for you. No antibiotics, no added hormones, no seed oils, no gluten, no funny business.
When Saturday rolls around, I don't want to jump through hoops to watch college football. Good thing DirecTV makes it easy to keep up with my favorite college teams. No hopping between apps or channels.
Stream college football without the hurdles on DirecTV.
Pain kept slowing me down. Then I tried new KT Menthol pain relief patches. Unlike other patches that only mask pain, KT increases blood flow to help accelerate healing. So don't give up. Tape up. New KT Menthol pain relief patches.
All right, look, I know some people say we should just let it go. Those are the ones who are wrong about everything, but that ain't happening. COVID was the worst government cover-up, debauchery, grift, lie, and whatever else in the history of this country. We just saw someone finally get charged over it. I think that's the beginning, but the media still owes a debt to society that can never be repaid by anything except their complete resignation and credibility destruction. Numero uno on that list, pow! These guys, CNN, these guys have been the worst for a while, but I just want to remind you how awful and dishonest these people are. Let's just take a look at some of their 2021 COVID reporting.
Kaiser Family Foundation survey found that more than half of unvaccinated Americans think the vaccine is more dangerous than COVID.
Hold up. The Kaiser Family Foundation. Yeah, that's the same guy, the same that started the Kaiser Permanente Union. That is the massive healthcare giant that employs the same people that got bonuses for getting people vaccinated. To be fair, that foundation does make a clear distinction apart from the family's medical franchise, but it still all started in the same place with the same context. A soundbite from CNN saying that a charity that is partially funded by Mr. Vaccine himself, Bill Gates, California Healthcare Foundation and California Wellness Foundation, and a few other people still affiliated directly with the healthcare industry, said that you should get a vaccine that makes them money. Great journalism, guys, on citing that survey, Anderson Cooper. Anyway, it went on.
The Biden administration has come down hard on vaccine misinformation, but one Florida doctor has seemingly gone to great lengths to perpetuate it. 360's Randy Kay now with the story, the hunt to find him, and the reasons behind his actions.
It's an unproven vaccine. It's just being accelerated and eliminated virtually every safety study.
He is the ultimate super spreader, not of the coronavirus, experts say, but of misinformation about COVID-19. His name is Dr. Joseph Mercola. That's exactly why the Center for Countering Digital Hate, a nonprofit tracking misinformation about COVID online, put Dr. Mercola, an osteopathic physician, at the top of its disinformation dozen. We tried to track down Dr. Mercola to ask him about the misinformation he's been posting.
They always cover up their opinion, their personal opinion with, oh, experts say. So primetime Anderson Cooper sent a reporter to harass a doctor, an actual doctor, about a medical opinion that turned out to be 100% right. By the way, number 2 on this list, who that guy? Oh, that's right. That's the current HHS secretary who turned out to be right about everything. And we know that because that same guy is out there exposing all the conversations, the texts and emails of the people that accused this guy of disinformation. They were saying the same thing that they were saying behind the scenes. Again, you do not hate these people enough. Look at this garbage piece they put together again. Back in 2021, what did they want to ask him? Oh, this is just gold.
Like masks may not work, vaccines could be dangerous, and vitamins C and D can prevent or treat the coronavirus.
All things that he turned out to be 100% right about, that places like CNN called dangerous. It was misinformation and accused the doctors of killing people when in fact it wasn't the doctors. It was CNN and their narrative that was hiding good stuff that could treat this virus, and that might have killed people. How has this place not been sued into oblivion beyond me? They actually found the doctor, these shameless people.
We just want to talk to you about vaccines and what you've been saying about them. Do you feel responsible for people who didn't get vaccinated, possibly got sick and died because of what you told them about the vaccines? What do you say to families who've lost loved ones?
I give him credit for restraint, but like, no, lady, what do you say in that shirt that looks like a drape to families who lost loved ones because of that vaccine, because they didn't take vitamin C and D and ivermectin and all the things that we knew worked, and you guys covered it up. This woman also should be sued to kingdom come by that doctor. They demonized this.
This was Mercola on a podcast in April last year, saying vaccines are
being fast-tracked with abandoning all safety precautions to the wind, I'm sure will cause enormous disabilities and premature deaths as a result of implementing this.
Whoop. And now, just 5 years later, we know that these things cause miscarriages, they cause myocarditis and heart attacks and blood clots, along with plenty of other things. He was right, and there was no long-term testing whatsoever. We were the not me, because I didn't get vaccinated, but American people were the guinea pigs. But that woman had like 37 boosters, I'm sure, prior to that segment. Bottom line, we can never let them ever live these things down because they just lie about stuff when they're proven wrong. They just breeze over it. I absolutely hate these people. Hate them. Never forget and never let it go. Before we go, though, Thursday, comments for Carl. We got some doozies today.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
This is our time, you know? His favorite route is the long way around. Now we can take it again. I'm not sure who loves this freedom more, him or me.
Being out here alone is my happy place. Nature can have its threats, but I'm prepared.
I'm not trying to fight wildlife. I just don't want one bad encounter deciding everything.
Carry confidence wherever you go with Byrna. And now it's the biggest sale ever at Byrna.com.
Some wireless companies say that they stand for something. What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot Mobile stands for. They stand for the lives of the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment and the right to protect yourself and your family. They stand for our veterans and first responders who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile today and support a company that doesn't just say they stand for something, but one that stands for the things that matter the most.
You can't find a ranch style with a view.
And a mom-in-law suite.
More realtor agents recommend Realtor.com. With their expert new search tool, just search it like you'd say it.
room for mom.
And Reba. Make it real with Realtor.com.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drupinski. I've been a physician for 4 decades. I've been looking at the aging process for a long time, and Fatty 15 is one product that actually slows it down. Fatty 15 comes out of Navy dolphin research. A brilliant veterinarian realized that dolphins get disease much like humans. She looked at what predisposed to those problems, isolated the molecule, gave it to the animals, they didn't get the problem. Without the C15, our cells become fragile and age and oxidize. This pushes that back. Cell health equals physical health. That's why I take Fatty 15.
You're grounded.
You're gonna ground me? When you're 45 and you haven't even screened for colon cancer.
I'm busy. I promised your mother I'd fix the sink 3 years ago.
The Cologuard Plus test is non-invasive, with no prep.
And it detects 95% of colon cancers, similar to colonoscopy.
Now that's thinking inside the box.
False positive and negative results may occur. The Cologuard Plus test is not for those at high risk.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
What if I told you you can get a brand new metal roof from Erie Home for 50% off the installation? Now you can. Our metal roofs are proven to withstand 120 miles per hour wind and 2-inch hail, all backed by a 50-year warranty. Call now for your free estimate.
Several days ago, my plane crashed in the wild. Good job, buddy. I'll get you home.
The night has come, and all the land is dark.
I got you. Go on, boy.
Part of the Beast. New trailer online now.
All right, we're back with another week of comments for Carl. Let's get to this. Now, we showed you that ever so pleasant woman who is now the Democrat Senate candidate in Florida.
And so I look forward, Ashley Moody, to taking you on and to whooping you in November, and you will be calling me your senator.
Pleasant, but this guy Jeff had a good point, and he said, low standards and false praise have created generations of toxic humans. 100%. It also seems that running for Congress or state government or Senate or whatever, governor, it seems like it's a backup plan to people who just fail in the private sector. Like that woman in Wisconsin, she failed at business and bankrupted herself, but then she ran for governor-in-law. Unbelievable. In response to another tweet of me criticizing the Senate, Kingfish actually said, will you finally on your show say something, or are you complicit like hell? Other Newsmax shows never say a word. Fox is no different. Newsmax is becoming call out the senators who are screwing the president. I thought you guys and gals gave a darn. You mean like this? You want to keep your majority? Throw 100 people in jail for political corruption and all the corruption that Doge uncovered. None of those people are in jail. That's like low-hanging fruit. But this should be a wake-up call for every Republican not backing up my guy. These people work for us, and when we say stuff, you better do it. You better at least listen to us, or we the people will fire you. But hey, thanks for watching. General rule of thumb. Before I criticize something, I like to actually watch it myself, but maybe that doesn't apply to this guy. Smashing on the rhino side of the party is probably one of my favorite things to do here. And I would like to end on a good note. Melanie said, love your humor, love your show, glad your wing is repaired. And I say, thanks, Melanie. We appreciate it very much. I offered Rob, I said, Rob, I can break your arm before the show, and then you don't have to wear a jacket anymore. He declined.
I don't mind the jacket that much. I kind of like the jacket.
We could be
twins,
twins,
I like it even
bro.
better now. I love it. Carl, good to see you.
Good to see you, Rob.